Hi, I'm Natalie Foster, your host for Season 4 of Love at First Shot.
Exactly.
Together with Julie Golob of Team Smith&Wesson, we'll be introducing you to some fantastic women, creating a few fun and friendly challenges, and sitting down for a spirited round of conversation.
It shows that you can be both feminine and both fabulous and fierce with a firearm at the same time.
The underlying theme for this season is concealed carry, so we're gonna dive headfirst into everything that entails, from carrying responsibly and training properly to ammo, travel, competition, and much, much more. And of course, you can't leave out fashion, because we all want to look great while we're carrying, don't we? And if you're wondering about how to carry during pregnancy, well, we got that covered too. Whether you're an experienced concealed carry license holder or are thinking about obtaining your license for the very first time, this season of Love at First Shot will provide a wealth of useful information, tips, advice, and practical resources for everything surrounding concealed carry. So let's get to it. This is Love at First Shot, presented by Smith&Wesson, and ammunition provided by Federal Premium. Hey there, it's Natalie from Love at First Shot.
Social, take one.
Not only am I adding to my little family, we're adding to the Love at First Shot family. And this, my friends, is Lydia Longoria.
I'm just excited to bring in a new generation, a new empowerment for women who are younger, may not, know anything about firearms and are moving out on their own for the first time. And so I'm really excited to kind of bring in the new generation of Second Amendment advocates and to get young women involved. I'm Lydia Longoria, and today's episode of 27 Words is one of my favorites because I've seen the militia clause trip up so many people.
I'm really excited to have Lydia. I know she will bring a lot to the table, and high five, girl. Woo! Joining the team.
The 27 words of the Second Amendment have been a source of a convoluted, oversaturated debate, seen by some as outdated and irrelevant, but by others as the ultimate empowerment. Today is so exciting because more and more women are making the decision to become empowered and to take our safety into our own hands. We're not depending on someone else to do it for us. And that great equalizer, the biggest form of empowerment for women, is the firearm. Not just the steel it's made of or the bullets it holds, but what it represents. That I will have the same level of safety as anyone else, that my power will not be taken. That's empowerment. That's what the Second Amendment is all about. However, there are so many people out there who will tell you that the Second Amendment means something different today than it did when it was written. But it is our responsibility as lovers of freedom to break down the willful ignorance and educate ourselves and others, not just on guns, but on their foundation, those 27 words that make up the Second Amendment. So throughout the season of Love at First Shot, I'm going to dissect and simplify every piece of the right that guarantees the rest. I'll take on the anti-gun arguments and prepare you to do the same. And I'll show you why the fight to keep and bear arms is the most important women's issue today. Next time on 27 Words, I look at a well-regulated militia, what it means and who it consists of.
Finding the perfect concealed carry setup isn't easy, and it takes a customized approach, which I like to refer to the C's of concealed carry. You have caliber, capacity, concealability, controls, clothing, and consistency. All of these are important for you to figure out what works best for you. Let's start with caliber. You have .380, .38, .357, 9mm, .40, .45. There are a lot of popular caliber options out there. The key to remember is that personal defense ammunition is specifically designed for your carry gun. So the typical ammo that you would buy at the range isn't going to have the same amount of stopping power as ammunition that's designed for self-defense. Now, obviously, the larger the caliber, the larger the size hole to stop the threat, and that's a debate we can talk about all day long. But the most important thing is that you choose a caliber that works for you. If you don't shoot it well, there's no benefit to it. So head to your local gun range, pick your favorite concealed carry firearm, and try it in a variety of calibers so that you can decide not only what you're comfortable shooting, but what you shoot best.
Stay tuned for the next episode of Love at First Shot, when Julie will address the second C of concealed carry, capacity. I am here on Love at First Shot with Tess, and we are so excited to have you this season. Tell me kind of your arc. I know you kind of had a very firearm-friendly childhood.
I did. It's a little bit different than most people. I fell in love with horses when I was very young. At the age of 12, I was introduced to the sport of modern pentathlon. They were the 5 sports that a militian would have to know: running, swimming, shooting, fencing, and horseback riding.
So it originated really as training for war.
Yes.
And then it became kind of even an Olympic sport, I understand.
It is. So to be brought up through that sport into the art of shooting is different. My goal was to go to the Olympics in horseback riding. That was my first love, and shooting was one way to get there. In order to horseback ride, I had to train for shooting.
So even though shooting was kind of secondary at best, really, it kind of sounds like it took over in your life.
One thing just continuously led to the other, and I absolutely fell in love with the art of shooting, but also the people who were involved in it.
And then you transitioned into a career in firearms, right? Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, it's been quite the journey. When I first came in, I was 21. There were not a lot of females in the industry. Now there are plenty of women. There's tons of women's clubs now. A lot of shooting ranges are hosting female-only nights and really making it welcome, not only for women in the industry to kind of use their experience, but they're also opening it up to other women who have always been interested but never had the proper environment to take that step forward to join the industry.
So concealed carry for you is a new aspect of the firearms community that you're starting to explore.
I've always known that I have the freedom to choose. And over time, especially as the world has become what it is today, I think it's become a lot more important.
You feel like it's time to protect yourself.
I feel like it's my duty to protect myself and my home.
So you had kind of an interesting experience that also kind of prompted this concealed carry interest, right?
I did. I was training for the Bataan Memorial Death March, which is a 26.2-mile ruck, essentially. It was late at night one night, and I was out on a trail that I had run for years. I knew that a bunch of endurance athletes were out there on Tuesdays and Thursdays evenings, and so I knew that there were going to be people out there, but I had talked my girlfriend into coming with me. So she and I were both out there rucking. I had the weight on, and as we turned around, I kept hearing something kind of rustling over my shoulder, and I was thinking, well, what is that? A little bit down the road, it kept getting closer and closer and closer, and I was like, hey, hold on a second. I'm like, do you hear that? Shine your light over here. And when she did, there was something glowing, and I didn't know if it was a person, I didn't know if it was an animal, I didn't know if we were being stalked. We got out of there as quickly as we possibly could.
It's terrifying.
Just a few weeks later, too, the shooting at the baseball complex in D.C. happened just a couple miles from my house. So between those two things, I really started to take a look and say, you know what, it's not that something is going to happen, but it honed in the idea that it is my responsibility to take care of myself.
Well, I think that's really interesting, too, because you just touched on the fact that it's not that you want to live in fear. It's actually that this kind of mitigates the fear, because you know that you can take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to training, what is your plan? Where do you want to go with it?
I want to take some time and get familiar with a couple of different handguns that I know, because that's going to affect the training, that's going to affect where I carry.
Well, and I love that point, too, because actually women, we wear so many different outfits, so many different styles of outfits that you almost have to choose your gun like you choose your shoes.
Absolutely.
You know?
Right. Well, and if you carry in a purse versus, you know, ankle, appendix, it definitely does. It does. And sometimes you need more than one, but you also need to be familiar with all of those. And my goal is to continue, is every time I go out to the range to train for 3-gun or sporting clays or anything like that, just to hop over to a pistol range and, you know, put a few rounds through that gun just so that I'm always familiar with it if I need it.
It's a new level of responsibility, really.
Absolutely.
Choosing to carry a firearm is a huge responsibility, and selecting the right gun for you is very personal. For this Smith&Wesson product spotlight, we're at the Wilshire Gun Club and want to share with you the Smith&Wesson M&P Shield 2.0. This gun is a great option for concealed carry because it's light and thin. Light meaning that it's easy to carry all day long, and thin makes it easier to conceal. This gun also features a textured grip, and that's going to be very helpful to help you control recoil and also make sure that the gun doesn't slip around in your hand. It also features a great trigger right out of the box. It's crisp and light, and it has a tactile and audible reset. And that means it's really going to help you learn to improve your trigger control and shot on target speed. This gun also features an integrated crimson trace laser. And lasers are a great option for CCW because it allows you to have a sighting system in low or no light conditions, and also allows you to shoot from awkward or unorthodox positions. Available in 9 and 40, with or without a thumb safety, this Smith&Wesson M&P Shield M2.0 is feature-packed. When it comes to concealed carry, you have a lot of options, and one of the most secure ways to carry your firearm is at the waist. So I'm going to talk to you about different options for on-the-waist carry. Let's start with outside the waistband. This is a classic outside the waistband holster, and notice it sits outside my belt, outside of my waist, and there are a lot of benefits to it. But the drawback is it adds a little bit of bulk to the side of your body, and that can make it a little bit more difficult to conceal. The next holster that we're going to talk about is an inside the waistband holster. Unlike the outside the waistband holster, it actually sits inside your pants, and that is a little bit easier to conceal. The downside with an inside the waistband holster is the fact that you may have to buy a size higher pants or your skirt in order to conceal it properly, and that isn't always something that we want to do. Finally, the last type of waistband concealed carry that I'll talk about is the appendix inside the waistband. And this is where it's positioned anywhere between your hip bones. As a mom, this is my personal preference because I can place a child on a hip, and I have a little bit more control in this area when I'm carrying concealed. No matter what you decide, whether it's outside the waistband or inside the waistband, location is a critical component. If you have the gun on your hip or behind your hip, you're going to have to make a drastic movement with whatever your concealment garment is, and that is something that you'll have to practice and make note of. If you're carrying in the appendix position, it's a little bit easier to conceal that movement. It's not as drastic. These are all things that you want to consider when choosing the best holster option for you.
The magnitude of handling a firearm, let alone carrying a firearm, is so overwhelming, especially for women who tend to be, you know, we ask a lot of questions, we're very responsible and stuff like that. And so, you know, that feeling can be very overwhelming for a lot of women.
The responsibility goes well beyond just doing the training, taking the course, purchasing the firearm, you know, deciding how you're going to carry, where you're going to carry, when you're going to carry. And so there's a lot more that goes into concealed carry that I think that people who are looking into it or have no idea about what concealed carry really is, there's a lot more to it than first meets the eye.
A lot of times it seems like there aren't other women out there experiencing it. And I know for me, I just really, my mother didn't have a you know, a license to carry, so who am I supposed to look to? And so being able to find the NRA and being able to look at all of, you know, the education pieces they put out and the women that they feature, that is, to me, the ultimate comfort. And so when I marched into my license to carry class and being the only woman, let alone the only person like my age there, you know, for me, it wasn't as daunting as it would have been.
When you're learning about the responsibilities and just the gravity of the situation and really taking concealed carry as seriously as we all do, how does it make you guys feel when you hear people talking about it on TV?
What's fascinating to me is when you see what's put out in the media, the concept that someone wants to put a gun on their hip and walk around.
It's so like appalling, and we're like, hold on.
And Crystal, you have a great story with coming in at this from a small business owner and being a lovely woman. And can you tell us like how it feels for you to have that kind of sense of responsibility?
It is important, you know, living alone and then also, you know, having a business and then, you know, sometimes working late, coming in early, you know, being there super late at night when you're, you know, going out the back door and putting stuff in the dumpster and you're like, what was that noise? You know, you just don't know.
Sure.
So you feel so much more of a sense of, you know, I feel more confident in being able to do this at all times. So, yeah.
It's amazing that even with all this noise with the media, the national movement to be able to carry seems to be really out there.
Yeah.
It really does.
And just the sheer numbers, right? When some people who are anti the entire gun industry hear how many gun owners there are in America and do the math, it's mind-boggling. And it has to be, if I were in their shoes and hearing those facts and statistics, you have to think, do I need to get out of my inner circle and see what real America is like?
16 million right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and it just keeps growing and growing. Yeah. And that can't be like a fluky thing, right?
You're exactly right. Like at some point there is a tipping point, and I think we've probably hit it with 16 million. But it raises another really important conversation, and that's reciprocity, which is something that we're all working on right now. Or you know, it's just something that's very present for us as a topic right now. I mean, I've been vetted by the FBI. I've got all the fingerprints done. I've done all the legal work in several states, by the way, that I need to do, and yet I can't carry in my home state, like where I live. I can't protect my child. And for me, reciprocity is a really, really big deal. And I know you travel all the time with your firearms for competition and that kind of thing, so it's a big deal for you, right?
Absolutely. It would make things, one, so much easier. Yeah. But you never have to worry about, am I going to be legal when I cross the state line? Yeah. Can I carry in this city? I mean,
well, even picking up your guns from baggage claim. If you're in a state where that's not, you're a criminal the moment you pick that up off.
Or if your plane gets diverted, there's been people who've had that. Their plane gets diverted, their bags get taken, they're in trouble. Or if you're on a road trip to a match and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, what state are we in? Do we need to pull over and lock? It would be nice. The reciprocity would really be nice. And like you said, even if it's a state that you actually live in, then it's super important then.
It's maddening for my situation currently, but...
and that's just LA County, right, Natalie?
Well, that's true. California, and there's some other states. I believe New York is this way, Massachusetts as well. You know, it's a county by county situation.
Because I have mine in California in Orange County, which is just south of you. We're not that far away from each other, but I can have my concealed carry permit and she can't.
Right.
So what do you do to fight that?
You have the NRA.
Yeah, exactly.
They're working on our behalf, and I know that every day. That's one of the reasons that I'm such an emphatic supporter.
Instead of shooting, we're going to be shopping.
Just recently, especially my involvement in the NRA, my dad is so proud, and I love that he's proud of me for that.
I know, I'm gonna cry too.
Very, very first stage, what were you feeling like?
1% nervous and 99% like excited.
Excited, okay.
This is not something that is really widely discussed within the gun industry.
I knew it was probably going to be a hostile environment, but I didn't care. I really thought it needed to be talked about.
Now, when you're flying with firearms, there are a few things that you can do to make this process a lot easier.
I don't think of us as women running a business. It's just what we do.
When that buzzer goes, it's like you're a different person.
I have a competitive side. And
really? Go.
There's no reason why the women can't shoot just as good as the men.
That I will have the same level of safety as anyone else, that my power will not be taken. That's empowerment. That's what the Second Amendment is all about.